The Walt Disney Company is one of the biggest corporations in the world. It's responsible for much of what makes up my generation and modern pop culture as well. From the old animated classics like Snow White, Cinderella, and Beauty and the Beast, to some more recent phenomena like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which resulted in the highest grossing movie of all time. There is no questioning that Disney is an absolute powerhouse, and they have expanded into countless different industries, from TV to movies to theater to theme parks, hotels, cruise ships, comics, and video games, and more. So at the top of such an enormous and diverse corporation must be an exceptional person. But can you name the CEO of Disney? For the past 15 years, the CEO has been Bob Iger. He's been the CEO since 2005, but recently retired and is now getting replaced by Bob Chapek. Towards the end of his tenure as CEO, Bob Iger released The Ride of a Lifetime, a semi-biography / business lessons book. In the book, he tells us the story of how he went from his first job performing menial labor at ABC to becoming the CEO of the Walt Disney Company, with various business lessons sprinkled into it. Now, it's a fantastic book, and I am certain that his lessons on business and leadership are invaluable to many, many people. But that's not what I found interesting about his story. Bob Iger's story is a success story unlike any of those we're regularly told. Keep in mind that Bob has essentially worked for the same company since 1974, as he rose through the ranks of ABC to become the head of entertainment in 1989. But when Disney bought ABC in 1996, it paved the way for him to become the CEO of Disney. He hasn't changed company a single time in his whole career. So let's take a moment to think about the most publicly successful people in the world. I think of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and the late Steve Jobs. Entrepreneurs, all of them. People who started and grew their own companies. The modern success story, the one everyone keeps hearing about, is one of entrepreneurship and innovation. And so here comes Bob Iger, CEO of the Walt Disney Company. He might not be a billionaire like the 5 entrepreneurs I mentioned, but you don't need billions to be considered successful. There's no denying that Bob Iger is an incredibly successful and impressive man. Yet he got there with an approach completely unlike any of those we're regularly told about. He didn't start his own company or invent something extraordinary. He worked hard, he was good at his job no matter what it was, and he took the opportunities that came to him. William S. Knudsen was a leading executive and an American general under World War II. He started as a Danish bikesmith who immigrated to the land of opportunity. Knudsen worked for a bicycle and auto parts maker that in 1911 was acquired by Ford. Some people even speculate that Henry Ford made the acquisition simply to get William Knudsen under his employment, but that's speculation, and although William Knudsen was an important part of the acquisition, he wasn't the only reason for the acquisition. After 10 years of doing great work for Ford, Knudsen left to join the General Motors Company, where he later became the president of the Chevrolet division and eventually the president of the General Motors Company. During his time at General Motors, Knudsen played an important part in their surpassing of Ford, becoming famous for his quote, "I want one for one," spoken with his characteristic accent. Then later during World War II, Knudsen left his job at General Motors to assist in the American war production that was paramount to the Allies' victory. William Knudsen was for a time among the 10 highest paid people in the USA. He was an expert on mass production and leadership. William Knudsen was an incredibly successful man and essential to the development of modern assembly lines and mass production. Yet he's almost entirely forgotten, just as Bob Iger is relatively unknown to the layman. Both of these two great leaders got to where they were not through entrepreneurship, but through what you might call more traditional paths. They climbed the corporate ladder. They were good at their jobs and they got rewarded for it. It really makes me wonder why the modern success story is one of entrepreneurship, and why we don't share the stories of successful office workers. Maybe it's because the entrepreneurial story fits better with the archetypal hero story, where the hero takes a massive risk to explore the unknown and then comes back with the dragon's hoard. Or maybe it's the story of innovation that captivates the modern mind, changing the world from a garage. The stories we tell impact the way we act. When we hear stories of successful entrepreneurs, it inspires more entrepreneurs. And when we don't hear about those who took a more traditional path, then we tend to forget that success can also be found there. When was the last time that you heard someone say, "I'm going to get rich by being a great employee"? The past decade has been one of entrepreneurship. More and more people are becoming entrepreneurs, chasing their dreams and aspirations by starting their own companies. In some circles, having a job is even seen as having failed. There's a thing that Dan Lok tells his students. Job is an acronym for just over broke. Whether the recent emphasis on entrepreneurship is a good or a bad thing can be debated, but the thing I worry about is the emphasis on revolution that comes along with it. All of the 5 entrepreneurs I mentioned earlier are all revolutionaries, technological revolutionaries. And although their revolutions have come with consequences, I do believe that they have been largely positive. But the message it sends, a story of revolution, is a dangerous thing. Of course, entrepreneurs aren't the only sinners. The American Revolution and the Industrial Revolution are both seen as largely positive, very positive events. But revolutions are dangerous, and I worry that people lose sight of that. There's a fantastic video on the topic of revolutions by a channel called Upper Echelon Games. He talks about the dangers of revolution and compares the general beliefs about revolution between cultures. I'll link the video in the description, or you can click the button in the corner to watch it. What he found was that America, in particular, believes that revolutions are positively transformative. This becomes obvious when we look at the Black Lives Matters movement. They call for revolution, and many of them don't care or don't think about the consequences. They riot, they burn buildings, and so far, 36 people have died. Revolutions are dangerous, yet the success stories we tell each other are of revolutionary entrepreneurs. Success through the corporate ladder is possible, yet we never hear about it. I'm not totally sure why that is, but I'm certain that there are consequences for it, be it ultimately a good or a bad thing. Revolution isn't always the answer. It's quick, it's transformative, but it's dangerous. And sometimes it's better to accept slow, incremental improvement, whether that be in our lives, in our careers, in our relationships, or in our societies. In the end, I want to hear what you think. Why have our success stories become about entrepreneurs? And is it a good or a bad thing? Tell me in the comments below. And if you like this video, then click the like button. And if you want to see more like this, then click that subscribe button. It really does mean the world to me when people interact with my videos. So thank you very much for watching.